You have worshipped your whole life, sung the songs, raised your hands, closed your eyes, and you have walked out of rooms where the music was powerful, the atmosphere was right, and still felt unchanged. Like something was happening all around you that was not quite happening in you. What if the reason is not the worship style, not the church, not even your faith? What if something happens before the music starts that determines everything that follows? And most Christians were never told what it is. Before you worship again, there is something you need to remember. Worship is the most intimate thing a human being can offer God, and it is also the most misunderstood. For most Christians, worship begins when the music starts. It ends when the music stops, and everything in between is measured by how it made us feel. But Jesus challenged this in one of the most direct statements he ever made about worship. He said, "God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth." John 4:24. Must, not should, not could, must. Which means it is possible to go through every motion of worship and still not actually worship at all. And what makes a difference has almost nothing to do with the song. The first thing to remember, worship is not something you enter, it is something you bring. In Isaiah chapter 29, God looked at a people who had been worshiping him faithfully, consistently, loudly, and he said something devastating. "These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." Isaiah 29:13. The songs were right, the words were right, the posture was right, but the heart, the one thing God was looking for, was somewhere else entirely. Worship at its core is not a musical event, it is an act of the will. David understood this. Before he brought the Ark of God into Jerusalem, before the singing, the dancing, the celebration, he prepared his heart. He arranged the Levites, he sanctified the people, he made the inner condition match the outward act. David did not walk into worship distracted and hope the music would fix him. He arrived prepared. Before you lift a single note, what is the actual condition of your heart? Because worship begins there, not at the first chord. But a prepared heart is still not enough if something inside it is still being hidden from God. And that is exactly where most worship quietly breaks down. The second thing to remember, you cannot truly worship while protecting something from God. Worship in its purest form is complete openness before God. No performance, no curated version, nothing held back. The psalmist wrote, "Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? The one who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not trust in an idol." Psalm 24:3-4. Clean hands and a pure heart. Not perfection, not a life with no struggles, but an open posture, a willingness to stand before God without hiding what he already sees. The most powerful worship moments in Scripture never happened in comfort. They happened in surrender. Isaiah saw the Lord and immediately confessed, "Woe to me, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips." Isaiah 6:5. That moment of honesty was the beginning of his encounter, not the end of it. God did not turn away from Isaiah's confession. He responded to it. Before you worship, ask yourself what you have been carrying into the room that you have not been willing to set down, because what you hold on to is exactly what keeps you at a distance from the one you're trying to reach. And this changes everything, because once you come open, once you come honest, worship stops being something you perform and becomes something you receive. The third thing, and perhaps the most freeing, worship was never meant to be how you get God's attention. It is how you respond to the fact that he already has yours. When Paul wrote to the Romans, after 11 chapters of the most profound theology ever written, he didn't end with strategy, he ended with this: "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Romans 12:1. In view of God's mercy, not in view of your feelings, not in view of the music, in view of what God has already done. Worship is a response, not a request. It's not a tool to earn God's presence. It's what happens when you finally stop trying to reach God and realize he already reached you. Worship that starts with "what do I feel?" runs dry. Worship that starts with "what has he done?" never runs out. That's the shift. And once it happens, worship stops being something you perform and becomes something you receive. Before your next worship moment, 3 things, less than 2 minutes. First, arrive with intention. Before the music starts, remind yourself why you're there. Not to feel something, to respond to someone. Second, come honest. If there is something between you and God right now, say it. Not a long prayer, just the truth. God, here's where I actually am today. Honesty is the entrance. Third, shift your focus from yourself to Him. Ask one question before the first song. What has God done that deserves this? Let the answer fill the room before the music does. Because when worship starts from that place, it doesn't depend on how you feel, it depends on who He is. And that never changes. The songs matter. The gathering matters. The moments when something lifts in your chest. Those are real, but they're not the source. They're the overflow. The source is a heart that arrived prepared, open, honest, and already thinking about everything God has already done. You were not made to perform for God. You were made to respond to Him. And the difference between those two things is the difference between an empty ritual and the genuine encounter. You've had those moments where the music was almost beside the point, where something in you went still and something in you opened, and what you felt was not an emotion, it was a presence. That was not an accident. That was worship doing what it was always designed to do. Not a performance, not a feeling, a return to the God who was already there, waiting for you to stop performing and simply come home. Before your next worship moment, which of these three do you need most? To arrive with intention? To come honest with what you have been holding, or to shift your eyes from how you feel to what He has done? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every one. Worship is not something you do for God. It's something He draws out of you when you finally stop holding back.